Everybody, Todd, Jason here. I'm really excited about this video, and get out a pen and paper because we're talking about manifestation. And I'm going to be reviewing an interview that the great Lewis Howe did with Dr. James Doty, who's a manifestation expert. He's a neuroscientist. He's been affiliated with Stanford University for over 20 years, and he's written a bunch of books. And I'll be interviewing Dr. Doty on my podcast shortly. So you might see this on my channel, but I'm excited to review this, and I'm going to take out the best points from this interview, and then I'm going to give you some practices that you can use. So this is a long interview that Lewis did, but I want to get out the best points, give you how you can manifest so you can actually go ahead and get out there and live your best life. So we're going to go ahead and play this, and then we're going to rock.
If you, and being an athlete, I'm sure you know, if you tell yourself it's not possible, by definition, it is not possible. It cannot happen. And so when people listen to that, they are giving their self-agency away. And in some ways, this is the nature of how we take control of our manifestation. As you know from the first sentence in the book, it says the universe doesn't give a about you because it has no to give. There is not some external entity deciding your fate because you're a good or a bad guy. But we have immense power within us to control our destiny. And when you give it away and listen to that critic, then you're limiting your beliefs. So the key is, how do you unlimit your beliefs, if you will? And that is understanding the incredible power you have within yourself. When you sit there and say every day, I'm not worthy, I don't deserve love, it's not possible, I'm an imposter, I can't do it. It's as if you're building a prison for yourself with brick.
Wow.
And the wall gets higher and it gets darker, and you feel more and more powerless. And you feel like there's some external force controlling your life. When you understand within you is an incredible power to change your destiny, and you have that power, and finally you recognize it, then extraordinary things can happen. And this is how you go from you being in charge, or let's say a belief that others are in charge, to actually you being in charge.
But how did you learn to break free of the limiting beliefs that you had, the fight or flight symptoms that you were constantly in, which I felt as a kid as well, and felt very insecure, stupid, and unlovable for many different reasons. And I was able to back it with beliefs and evidence throughout my childhood. How did you learn to break the limiting beliefs and create more empowering beliefs to support you to feel emotionally free and start to attract more of what you wanted in your life?
Well, first of all, I don't want to imply that that journey's done.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes people look at you and they go, oh, man, you have it all together now. None of us have it all together, right? Every one of us is still a frail, fragile human being who is struggling. And some of us are a little further on that journey. Others continue to have difficulty. But interacting with this woman made me see the world through a different lens. Because when you have negative statements that you tell yourself repeatedly, as I said, that takes away your agency.
Yes.
Your own power.
You feel powerless.
Yes. And the thing is, then when you're beating up yourself, and you're typically the most critical person of yourself than anyone you know, then you look through the lens of being critical to everyone else.
Interesting.
Yes.
So when we are critical of ourselves, does that support us in creating great relationships with others?
No, oftentimes it's very damaging, because you're always thinking of, oh, well, they're going to cheat on me, they're going to lie, because you're telling yourself these types of narratives. And so it's hard to be authentic.
So I want to stop it there and just cover some of these points, because I think this is so important. The first thing that Dr. Doty says is the recognition of our inner critic. And I think we all just have to put our hands up and say, yes, we have a narrative of negative self-talk that exists. We just have to say it for what it is. The reason why doesn't matter. I love his work on this. It exists and it's there. So we have to be humble that we have this negative chatter that tends to dictate our lives, and we need to look at it strongly as an enemy. This is not a good thing that we have a negative chatter. And when we do that and understand that this thing that tells us negative stories about ourselves, about others, about the world is not helping, then we can make the change. So really the practice is self-talk, to start to integrate more positive self-talk And Dr. Doty has a whole practice on this, and I'll be sharing that in my interview. But the practice is to constantly practice doing positive talk. I also love how he shares in this segment around the process never ends. No matter where you are, we never get to some mountaintop, that we're all frail, that we're all struggling with the same thing, the same mental disease, if you will. And so when we look around and we see others and we think that they have it all together, and we actually shift that narrative to that they're also struggling, we tend to become more empathetic. We tend to be more open. We tend to be more connected. And that's where we have more charisma and connection and more joy in our connection with others. So I think that's also a really good point.
What is the number one thought and number one emotion that blocks us from the ability to manifest greater?
Fear.
What type of fear?
Well, it's insecurity, it's shame, and this results in you limiting your beliefs. And so in some ways, what we're talking about here actually is a decision between fear and love, right? And when you're fearful, this stimulates your sympathetic nervous system with all the negative aspects of it. When you love, you're open, you're generous, you're thoughtful, you're kind, because you've engaged the parasympathetic nervous system. And you have a choice. This is like if you look at Stoic philosophers, like somebody like Epictetus, who was a slave. He says, I cannot control my external environment. What I can control is how I react to my environment, right? So you meet people, I'm sure, say, my life's miserable, my life's horrible. While you meet other people go, well, it's tough right now, but I'm, optimistic it's going to get better. Or I know if I do this, it's going to get better. These are completely oppositional attitudes that have a profound effect depending on what you're believing.
Yes. But how does someone shift their attitude into positive when they're in a suffering state and they feel like they're a victim to so many different things happening to them?
Sure. Well, I can't sit here and say, you do this and your life's going to be perfect. There's some situations, either because of, as an example, structural racism that's built into the system, or chronic poverty, because throughout the world and even in America, the ability to overcome poverty, for most, it's highly unlikely that's going to happen. So yes, you do have power, but it's not necessarily, I'm going to change it and everything's going to be perfect for me. And I'm sure things are not perfect for you, right?
Yeah.
And no matter how much you try or want, well, externally, things may look fantastic. It's not perfect.
Sure.
And it's not the way you necessarily want. And I have to say the same thing. But there are people who, no matter how hard they're going to work, it's going to be very challenging. That being said, what we do know is there's certain practices and rules. And if you are going to get out of something, or if you are going to change things, then the best way to do that, which has the highest likelihood of success, is to go through some of the things that we're talking about here. And one of those is that, as an example, there is a tendency for us to want to achieve, right? And if you're an athlete, you have a goal you set there. Well, goals are fine, but if you focus only on the goal and have no concern about any of the other things that are going on,
The process.
then you reach the goal and there's nothing there.
Yeah.
Yet what we do know, the greatest cause of suffering is what? It's attachment and craving.
Desires.
Yeah. And the thing is, when that is your absolute focus, and we can't all get these things, you're going to be highly disappointed, and you've ignored all the people in your life as you focus solely on that. And unfortunately, many people learn that lesson far along after they've destroyed their families. They've been through multiple marriages. Their kids don't like, right?
Because they've been chasing a result or a goal or a dream, but neglecting everything else.
Yeah, because again, as I was saying, even about myself, I thought, well, if I just do this, my shame and insecurity will go away. I'll be loved by everybody and my life will be perfect. Yet at every one of those peaks, all I had was disappointment. And while everyone told me life was great, I did not feel that inside because I had not understood that I was the only one who had the key to the self-created prison.
Okay, so I want to stop it there and talk about a couple of things in this segment. And the first is the idea that fear and love are opposite, and that neuroscientists like James will tell you that there's a different neurological effect on the nervous system between fear and love, but that we have a choice whether to be in fear and love. They are truly opposites. The second piece is that we can't control the outside world. Things are going to happen in our lives. The best thing that we can do is be the observer to the external world and focus on the only thing that we can control, which is our perceptions. Our beliefs about what happened is what determines our destiny, which is at the crux of James's work and so many other ancient wisdom traditions. So let's not focus on the things that are happening. This is a recipe for being a victim. Let's focus on changing our attitude, our belief, our perception about those things. And the real way to do it is to change from this is bad to this is opportunity. No matter what happens, take it as an opportunity. I've studied with so many great teachers and leaders, and the ones that have transcendent success are the ones that are constantly looking at things as an opportunity. They are open and they are willing to see things positively.
I'm sure you probably know BJ Fogg. He wrote this book, Tiny Habits, but he and I were having a conversation recently. You have to start slow, okay? Pick one simple thing to show that you have the power, right? And it could be something as simple as I'm going to get up at 6 a.m. and walk around the block. And you just do that. Because what happens is now you're changing your belief system. You're saying, I set this goal and I was able to do it. And I do it every day now.
Right.
Then it can be a little longer and et cetera, until suddenly you're running a marathon when before you could barely get up and walk around the block. And I think that's really the key is start small, congratulate yourself for small wins and accept that, and then let that sink in and then just do another thing. And it's a slow process. Nothing happens overnight. And again, if you think, well, it's going to happen and it's all going to be perfect tomorrow, that's not how it works.
It's such an important point, such an important point. And my belief is that we got to play the long game in life. Okay. When we play the long game, we relieve ourselves from the stresses and anxieties and the disappointments of not having everything happen automatically. Manifestation has gotten a bad rap because people think you can instantly manifest by changing your mind. But that's not the way that this thing works. Dr. Doty and so many others talk about this idea of give yourself small wins every single day. Do one thing different in the various domains in your life and track it. I love tracking myself. This is why I use my journal. This is why I write stuff down on note cards every single day, because I'm tracking myself and I'm not trying to get the big win every day. I'm trying to set the trajectory of change in my life. Okay. So I hope you've enjoyed these points that I've made with Dr. Doty. I'm excited to bring him on my show and to go a little bit deeper to some of the things that he talks about. And God bless you.